Did I just find a Left Behind the Kids book that I actually enjoyed reading? Find out after the title card. Well, hello, and welcome to Trash with a capital T, where we give trashy books and movies the love they truly deserve. And some deserve more than others. I'm your host, Bobby. New videos are posted every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you like what you see during the video, give me a like. Makes me feel good, and it helps the channel. And if you want to see more of my content, subscribe. I can always use more subscribers. So we are jumping back in to Left Behind the Kids. Book 8. I can't believe I'm up to book 8. This one is called Death Strike, and actually, the subtitle has a lot to do with the book. This is a very, very busy book for as short as it is. It's like just around 120 pages. 123 pages. They pack so much freaking into this. I will say this is actually the first one where I can genuinely say, like, I enjoyed reading this, and it made me really want to pick up the next one. I still don't love the writing of this series, and it's never going to convert me, but I actually felt like this was the time where we start to see the characters settle, but they also at the same time are feeling a little more human because the writers have been with them for a while. This is also where we start to see some action come in, and when I talk action, I'm not talking in some of the earlier books we had action scenes and people got shot in the head a lot. But in this one, we start to see the bigger global action start to take place. And we'll get into that when I start to the plot breakdown. For those who are new to my videos on Left Behind the Kids, two things. One, if you're not familiar with the series or you want to start from the beginning, head over to my channel. I have a playlist called Divinely Trashy that covers all of my religious fiction and Christian fiction, and that has all of my Left Behind the Kids videos in there. That is what this is part of. It's a part of that series. So the playlist over there, you start with video 1 and work your way through. If you are familiar with the books or you have been watching along, just a reminder, I'm not here to make fun of anyone's beliefs. I might poke fun at some of the writing or anything like that, although this one might get a bit of a pass because I actually did like it. But I'm not here to be mean or make fun of people who believe this. Enough people do that on the internet. I don't want to make this place a negative place. Even if these aren't my beliefs, I still find this entertaining. And it's interesting to look at, can this work as entertainment for those who maybe do not hold the same beliefs as the intended audience? That's my whole purpose with this. It's not to be a douche to Christians. So, anyways, let's get into this one. So when we start this one, Vicky is back. For those, just a reminder, our main Young Tribulation Force, our main characters in this are Lionel, Judd. Oh, I'm doing it in the wrong order. Judd is the oldest. Vicky is the next oldest. She's like 16. Lionel and Ryan. There has been some time jump since book 7, so the kids are all a little older. Vicky, we start with her in a detention center. She has been arrested because they believe she was involved with the underground, and I think there was some other stuff going on with her lying about her parents not being raptured. So we start with her in the detention center. She gets her women in prison moment, and while protecting her friend Janie, she gets shanked. She lives, and actually it ends up working out because she gets adopted by Pastor Bruce, who decides he wants to become her father. And it's a nice little bit of through line with Bruce, with Pastor Barnes in this book. Pastor Barnes is a big part of this book, but he really doesn't get a lot of moments where he's the center character. It's a lot of the kids reacting to him. Also, while this is going on, Pastor Bruce and Judd are like touring the world as Pastor Bruce is doing all of these different speeches and he's preaching all over the place. And Judd has kind of become his right-hand man. He's fallen into this role where he is like the one closest to Bruce, and he's kind of become the leader of the kids, which has always kind of been established that way. Again, with this book, Lionel does almost nothing, although they do set him up for having more plot starting in the next one. We'll get there. There's a bunch of sub-stories going on. We get more with Chloe Steele and the kids. Chloe Steele is one of the main characters from the adult series. And we kind of get some moments between like Chloe and Vicky as they're talking about Vicky's growing crush on Judd. And Chloe ends up, talking about how she wants to marry Buck. That's who she's dating. She wants to marry Buck. and there's all of this stuff going on, and that kind of is what's going on. The adult books are happening behind, like alongside this, so that's what's happening in the corresponding adult books. Is we have Chloe and Buck's relationship growing. Don't worry, they only held hands. They haven't even kissed yet. Their first kiss happens when they eventually get married in the middle of the book. We have that going on. What else is Judd's money worries? We have a whole plot with Janie, the friend from the detention center. Bruce steps in to try and help her, and she moves in with Bruce. Also, Chaya from the last book moves in with Bruce to become part of the Tribulation Force. She's older. She's college age. She is someone who converted to Christianity from Judaism. There's a lot of that. If that is something that bothers you, the whole idea of like the Jewish community turning away from their faith towards Christ, and it sounds like that's a big part of this. There's a lot of people converting from other religions to Christianity and like having these big conversion moments. It happens in this book also with some Muslim clerics and some other stuff. If that bothers you, and I can understand that being a sticking point for some people, you're going to want to avoid this series completely. It's not overly done in this particular book. It really played a part in book 7. It's still here to a degree, but not as heavily. It's a little more personal to the character of Chaya in this specific book. That's some of the plots that are going on in the background. One of the better plots, and one of the plots that I really liked, and I do know where this plot is going to lead, and it kind of breaks my heart, but one of my favorite parts of this is the Ryan stuff. He doesn't get a ton, but what we do get is actually really well done character work, where he is growing up. He's in the middle of going through puberty. His body's changed, and he's starting to feel more like an adult, and he wants to take a more adult role within the group, but everyone keeps telling him no. So he's struggling. Like, he has his role where he goes and he collects Bibles and he hides them so that they can get them out to people who request them from their like underground website. But there's other parts in it where you see him wanting to become a more active member in the group, and he's constantly being told no. And every time he wants to become involved, they kind of push him back into, because they all view him as a little kid. He's the youngest. He's 13 in this book because like I said, there's been a gap of time. And I loved those moments. I really did. The Ryan character is probably the most human part of this particular book. And I wanted a little more of that. I didn't want a lot more. The pacing of this book is actually quite well done. I wanted more Ryan. I thought those parts were good. And I had the same thing with Vicky. I like her more emotional grounding. Judd can come off a little macho and cold at times, although I don't actually dislike his character. But because he's the leader, has that feeling of always kind of having to be above everything. He has to be a little more shut off. And the adult characters really don't get a lot to do. And because this cast has kind of expanded, now it's becoming harder to get a lot of those private moments or those personal moments because we have more characters we're dealing with. John and Mark are still a big part of the plot. They have become much more prominent in this book, specifically Mark. Mark is becoming involved with this militia that is trying to take down Carpathia's government. They aren't necessarily tied to any Christian groups, but he is like very much like, we are going to fight. I need to fight. And he's got that macho, I'm going to take him down with force kind of attitude. And his plot plays a major part of this book. We also have Judd, who is getting ready to graduate high school. He becomes a salutatorian. I think that's how it's pronounced. If I pronounced it wrong, I'm sorry. During his speech, he gives this speech in front of Nikolai Carpathia's like right-hand guy about accepting Jesus. And they plan this whole thing where they rip down a curtain and there's a banner with John 3:16 on it. And it happens to, because Nikolai Carpathia's right-hand guy is there, it ends up on CNN and it's this big thing. And Judd is basically barred from any higher education, which he doesn't care. In his mind, the world is ending in a couple years. So college wasn't really going to be worth it anyways. What was he going to do? Join the corporate world as the world falls to pieces? And that really cements him as becoming Bruce's protege, Pastor Bruce Barnes. And their plot is probably one of the more prominent, like, of the religious sides of the plot, because they're going around proselytizing. But then something interesting happens. I'm going to be hopping from plot to plot because there's just so much. So the Bruce Barnes plot is they are doing all of this traveling, and then something happens on a flight, and Bruce becomes extremely ill, and Judd doesn't know what to do. And because of that, Bruce ends up in a hospital, or in the hospital. And while this is all going on, the Mark storyline is going on with the militia. They're planning an attack. Turns out it's an attack on DC. And when the attack happens, and they actually attack they attack Heathrow Airport and end up releasing like an atom bomb or nuclear. Something happens, so there's like nuclear fallout in London. There's another attack that actually gets thwarted, but this militia, this global militia, is now active and basically working as a terrorist organization against Nicolae Carpathia. And the reason I say that is because they are doing it without any idea of like, they're not really helping anything. They're just killing a bunch of innocent people. And actually what ends up happening is because of that, Nicolae Carpathia's global government retaliates against the militia, specifically the Midwestern branch, and bombs the base. And they also bomb the hospital that Bruce is in. And Bruce dies in the bombing. Judd finds him. It's really a surprisingly well done moment. I wish Bruce as a character was a little more developed. I mean, these books are very quick, so the character development is very light. But Bruce's death does have impact because he is someone who is essentially emotionally touched all of the characters. So we get our first major death in the series in this book with Bruce's death, which also means Judd now really is the leader. Mark survives the bombing of the militia base, so we still have him. But Chaya's mom was also in the hospital, and she dies as well. But we learn that she converted, so she's most likely in heaven, and Chaya can take peace in that. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any other plots that happened. There is so much. There's a whole storyline with Janie where, like, she gets sent to an adult prison, but Bruce is able to talk them into letting her come live with him, but she just can't change her ways. And she gets caught with drugs at school and she gets sent back to prison. And basically the whole point of that storyline is some people don't want to be helped. That you can't save everybody, and do not beat yourself up because other people can't change in a way that you think they should. Which actually isn't a terrible message. Because sometimes you got to protect your peace. And I agree with that one. But the big thing, the big cliffhanger in all of this is because, and we're getting to the Ryan of it all, because Ryan is constantly told no, but he wants to see Bruce. He's scared for Bruce. He wants to go and thank this man who basically saved him after the rapture. He sneaks into the hospital and he spends time with Bruce and he hides under Bruce's bed. And he is most likely in the hospital when it is bombed. But we do not know his fate at the end of this book. With Ryan being one of the best developed characters so far, that is what probably has the most impact for me. Like, and the sad thing is I do know the outcome, but I'm not going to spoil it yet. We're going to wait until we get to the book where everything is revealed. But it is a good cliffhanger. It's good storytelling. There are moments of good storytelling in this book. There are. I wish there were more, and I wish the book could slow down. They cover so much ground. You're probably as confused as I was. There's so much jumping around. There was a scene between Ryan and Chloe Steele. Ryan was best friends with Chloe's little brother. And they're just talking about, do you miss him? Do you miss the people that have vanished? And do you think about them? And it's this little bitty scene. And I really wish they had given us more of that. Not much more. It doesn't need to be like chapters worth. But just let that conversation develop. Let the emotional part of that conversation develop. We get more with Ryan, but like Chloe is in this book, but she really just is kind of mentioned a lot. And people talk about her or around her. And the few scenes where she's actually active are very brief. And I wish those could have been expanded. This book a lot of YA or teen fiction books that were coming out at the time were about 150 pages. So they could have extended this one out. This really felt like it was still kind of in outline form. So I'm still wondering, and I've had this wonder for a couple books, if the deadlines on these were very tight, because I think these were being released like either monthly or bi-monthly. If the deadlines on these were very tight, and that is the reason we are getting like outlines, because there are parts of this book, because they do little, like within the chapters, they do breaks, and you'll have like 3 breaks just jumping from scene to scene to scene. And it gets kind of hectic. But having said all that, I'm going to wrap up this one by saying I actually enjoyed this one, and I am now looking forward to reading book 9. I have up to book 12, and when I get to book 12, I'll make a decision if I'm going to get the next box set. I probably will, because why not? I've been stuck it out this far. My goal is to actually read all 40 of the kids' books. I don't know if I'm going to touch the adult books. Watch my video for Left Behind the Rising to understand why. Oof. But this is what I'm looking for with that. Because yes, their message is there. There's definitely religious. This is definitely Christian fiction. It has a very distinct Christian message. But there's also excitement and energy. Like the scenes where the hospital and everything are getting bombed are nuts. Like it's really, I'm making it sound bigger than it is, but for this book, it is quite exciting, and there's a bunch of characters involved. It felt like a great, almost like a season finale kind of moment, because we have the cliffhanger with Ryan, and like, it's really, really, really enjoyable, which makes parts of the other parts of the book easier to read. And there's a lot of setup for stuff that's coming, but that's how all of these books have worked. We're always setting up. Now, what they need to do moving forward is get better control of their cast, because it's larger, and kind of find ways to refocus so you're not covering all of the characters all at once. That is the problem with this one. We cover way too many characters over a short book. Like maybe I mean, it's set up where, because Lionel is the only one who doesn't think, the others actually do think Ryan is dead. Lionel is the only one who's determined that Ryan is not dead. He will find his best friend. And I want Lionel to have that emotional journey in the next book. I hope he gets it. We shall see. Because like I said, I do still plan on reading them. But we'll see. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. And, I try and do the Left Behind the Kids books bi-monthly. So maybe I'll start posting when they're coming out, like my schedule with those on my posts. So keep your eyes open. I might be starting to do that. But if you made it this far, thank you. If you liked what you saw, give me a like. So, and if you want to see more, subscribe. I'm kind of getting my general housekeeping out of order, but, and just a reminder, new videos are posted every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to wrap up this episode, as I always do, with saying love what you love, enjoy what you're reading and watching, and have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.